The age of apocalypse is upon us in X-Men Apocalypse. Hello everyone, it's me Ben Almaden and welcome to Entertainment Zone. I'm here today for my review of X-Men Apocalypse. Now if we take into account the Wolverine movies, this is our 8th entry in the X-Men series, 9th if you include Deadpool. So I've been a big fan of X-Men, as you can see. I've grown up reading the comics, watching the cartoons. My favourite comic books are the X-Men. I just think it's an amazing material, and I've really enjoyed the films over the years too, even X-Men 3, but not Wolverine Origins, no. But yeah, I'm a fan of the films, so I was very excited to hear that Bryan Singer was back once again and bringing us X-Men Apocalypse. Apocalypse obviously being one of the most iconic X-Men villains there is. So sadly, I was disappointed to leave this film feeling very underwhelmed, if I'm honest with you. The film is set in the 1980s and sees a new group of X-Men taking on the ancient first mutant Apocalypse and his horsemen. But the thing is, my main problem with this film was that the characters were so underdeveloped. I've got to say, Oscar Isaac was very good as Apocalypse, though there were times when I just thought, is Apocalypse one of these characters that, yes, it's great on the page of a comic book, but realising it on a big screen, maybe not so much. Now, the film opens with Apocalypse in ancient Egyptian times, and really shows off his power and the influence he had, and that was really cool to see, and that was visually stunning. It was a great opening scene, but as the film goes on, Apocalypse, he's a pretty cool villain, don't get me wrong. He was done well. But he has his 4 horsemen in this movie, who, as the trailers have given away, is Storm, Magneto, Psylocke, and Angel. But the thing is, it never really explains why he needs the horsemen. I mean, he tempts them in and lures them in and enhances their powers. But Apocalypse does a lot of the fighting and has the most strength himself, you know. And I mentioned some new characters there, like Psylocke, for example, and the film has a lot of new characters in, and this was my problem with the film. Not that it has new characters, but that it just, they had, none of them had any depth. The new characters, we didn't get a chance to really get to know them. Psylocke, very much like X-Men 3, was a glorified extra, to be honest. You know, she's this warrior who, you know, they've got the costume right for Psylocke. You know, Olivia Munn did a good job with what she had, but she was merely a lackey to Apocalypse, and it's the same thing with Ben Hardy's Angel too. You know, he did a great job with the work he had, but with Psylocke and Angel, we didn't get a chance to really get to know them at all. We have also in the movie Jubilee, but literally Jubilee is really is little more than a cameo. So disappointing. I thought, yes, we're finally getting to see this character. But the biggest travesty for me was young Storm. She has good scenes in it, and I mean, the actress who plays her, Alexandra Shipp, she did it well. And you can kind of see that eventually she'll become Halle Berry's Storm that we all know and love. But literally, again, she was just that lackey, and we didn't really get to know her. We didn't really see, you know, she was a villain for most of the film. We didn't get to see her interact much with the X-Men. Whether they're saving that for the sequel, I just don't know. Sophie Turner was great as Jean Grey. This is one of the strengths of the movie. She did a great job as Jean, and she realises her powers to the full potential. I won't spoil anything there, but fans of the comics will be pleased. And Ty Sheridan was good as a young Scott Summers Cyclops too. But again, we had these younger versions of the characters, but we didn't get to know them too well. Jean and Scott we kind of did. Cody Smith McPhee played Nightcrawler, and he had some cool moments, a lot of comedy moments. But again, as a character, he just wasn't developed, and this was the problem. There's cameos, some other X-Men comic book favourites in there, like Blob and Caliban, which is cool. But the characters were just so underdeveloped. The main characters of the film, once again, were Professor X, Magneto and Mystique. And again, this was a problem I had, because we've seen their relationship explored in X-Men 1, 2 and 3, First Class, Days of Future Past, and I felt like nothing was really added this time round. It was kind of rehashing what we've already seen, and the same between Magneto and Mystique. I've got to say, whilst Jennifer Lawrence did a good job as Mystique, there were times in the film where I thought, like, oh, she looks bored doing this. And the film retreads over Charles Xavier's longing for romance with Rose Byrne's Moira McTaggart, and again, we've seen that before. Don't get me wrong, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender are great in their roles. Both deliver fantastic performances, especially McAvoy in this film. He has his time to shine. You know, if Days of Future Past really showed Fassbender's Magneto to his full potential, this got to show McAvoy's Xavier to his full potential. Evan Peters from American Horror Story once again steals the film as Quicksilver. He has another slow motion scene as he runs around super fast, and it's even cooler than his one in Days of Future Past. That was good. I felt like this film retread a lot of old ground. There was a lot of big action sets fighting, and I just felt that there wasn't enough depth to the story at all. And moving forward, you know, it'd be nice to see the younger generations, you know, like young Storm, young Jean and Scott properly getting to know each other. But if we move 10 years forward to the 90s, as is being rumoured, you know, we're probably not going to get to see that, because they'll know each other well by then. The film just left me so underwhelmed. It was enjoyable for just a film to watch. Had a lot of cool action pieces. The characters really looked like their comic book counterparts. But again, the film retread a lot of old ground. The new characters were severely underdeveloped. And not only this, I've got to say, I kind of felt like Magneto kind of took the spotlight off Apocalypse as well, which is not great, being in a film called X-Men Apocalypse. So that's my thoughts on the film. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10. A very, very average film. Bryan Singer can do a lot better than this. On my list of X-Men films from best to worst, this will be near the bottom, I'm afraid. A lot of disappointment. I should mention the film has a post-credit scene which the fans, the die-hard fans of the comic books, will love. I'll talk about that in the spoiler section, but definitely stay and watch that. So if you've seen the film, let me know what you thought in the comments. If not, go away and come back. I'm just going to talk a few spoilers now, so yeah, if you haven't seen the film, stop watching now and come back when you have. So going into the spoilers, we had Havoc come back in this film only to be killed off, but it made sense, you know, but at the same time I've kind of thought, well, like, wow, Havoc and Cyclops are brothers, yet they must have, what, a 20-year age gap, yet they look kind of the same age, and these guys all age really, really well. But it was cool seeing Havoc back, but and I kind of anticipated his death, but you know, it was what it was. We had Wolverine cameo in Thank God. It's always great to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. His scene was cool. Obviously, they don't want to retread the Weapon X stuff again too much, but here in the new reboot timeline, obviously Weapon X has now occurred. Wolverine is the Wolverine we all know and love. And talking of Wolverine though, one thing that did cross my mind was that at the end of Days of Future Past we saw Wolverine rescued by Mystique, yet in this film he's in Weapon X with no explanation of what's gone in between. And you know, if the rumours are true that Hugh Jackman's final outing in Wolverine 3 is going to be Old Man Logan, we're probably never going to get the explanation. So that was a bit of a disappointment for me. So he was very, very cool. I enjoyed his cameo, I enjoyed his scene, and especially that moment he has with Sophie Turner as Jean Grey was fantastic. Talking of Jean, it was great seeing her realising her full potential and seeing the Phoenix. I hope this is expanded on more in the sequel. I'm going to be honest with you, I actually like X-Men 3. I'm one of the few people who do. But I agree, I want to see Phoenix done to its full potential. So hopefully that will be the case in the sequel. It kind of annoyed me as well that Quicksilver never told Magneto that he's his son. You know, it's been set up, and you know, the whole reason he was there was to kind of confront Magneto, and you know, he was there with Mystique, and again Mystique and Magneto's relationship overshadowed this. I think it would have been better to have Peter Maximoff instead of Pietro, you know, tell his father, look, I am your son, and just to see that moment. It was interesting that they gave Magneto a wife and kid as well, and it was heartbreaking seeing them killed off. You know, Fassbender delivered a great performance there. But yeah, this was part of my problem with the film as well, though, is that the relationship between Charles and Magneto has kind of been done to death now, and you know, Magneto is keeping his Charles, you're wrong, yes, I'm right. And I know this has been the case in the comic books as well, but on film it's kind of like, yeah, we've seen it this all before, you're never going to convince him. But you know, it is what it is. The film does have a post-credit scene as well, featuring Nathaniel Essex, or at least someone from Essex Corp. And this got me very, very excited, because as we know, Nathaniel Essex, who runs Essex Corp, is Mr. Sinister. Now, Mr. Sinister for me is one of the X-Men villains that I've always wanted to see on the big screen. And whilst Apocalypse was done well, he wasn't done amazingly well, but he was done well. I really hope they get Mr. Sinister right, so fingers crossed. Well, that's all I've got time for today. It's been a pretty lengthy video. But again, let me know what you thought about X-Men Apocalypse. It seems to be dividing critics and fans alike. It's very, very interesting. Did you love it, hate it? Let me know in the comments. What did you enjoy? What did you not enjoy? And remember, for all the latest film, TV news and reviews, be sure to subscribe. And you can find me on Twitter at BLMaiden, and Entertainment Zone's on Tumblr at entertainmentzone.tumblr.com. Until next time, guys, take care and speak to you soon.